For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Virginia Sweet. How's it going today, guys?
We're doing well.
Excellent.
Excited to have you on the podcast, chat a little bit. We won't chat about weather the entire time, but it seems to be a very common thread right now, given the current state of what the country's going through.
Oh, yeah.
But so you guys are based out of, you're up in Minneapolis. A long way away from me, but still, I feel like we're going through the same stuff to a certain degree. I'm really excited to sit down and chat with you a little bit, talk a little music, the band Virginia Sweet, what you guys got going on, and all that fun stuff. So before we jump into the tour, the music, all that, what's kind of the origin story of Virginia Sweet?
Virginia Sweet started as kind of like a side project. When COVID ended up hitting, things kind of slowed down, and just kind of poked around. And the guitarist Jason Jump actually got called down to Nashville to help out with another band that we had done a tour with. And he was playing some of the stuff that we had worked on, and kind of sound engineer was like, "Hey, that's what you should be recording." And so
We did.
And so that's what we did. We kind of took that piece of it and ran with it, and the rest was kind of history.
Awesome. And you guys are kind of a Southern rock band. Is that a fair way to?
Yeah, it's like the Allman Brothers meets Pearl Jam. It's kind of like a modern twist to Southern rock.
Gotcha. And so when you guys you started playing together at the beginning of the pandemic, or right around that area?
So we were playing together the whole year before, actually.
Okay.
And then coming around for the new year, then we were kind of prepping to go to like South by Southwest, and then that's when we got the actual news that everything was shut down.
Gotcha.
I remember being at Guitar Center and the phone was going wild, just people saying, "Hey, what's going on with the tour? I just heard CNN Financial ended up announcing it."
Yeah.
And, so I mean, it's as with everybody, it threw everybody for a whirlwind.
Yeah.
And you just kind of adapt and do what you need to.
Roll with it. I remember because when South by Southwest 2020 got canceled, that was my first year in Texas, or that would have been my first year experiencing South by Southwest. And I had plans of having all these musicians come through, because most of them, if they were flying in, they were flying into Dallas because it was cheaper. And to get to Austin, you have to come right through Waco, or if they're no matter where they were traveling through, most of them went through Waco in some way, shape, or form. And I was just like, hey, come through. Let's do a podcast. Let's do a jam session. I was throwing out all these things. And so for like 2 weeks straight, I had like every day that I wasn't at work, or every minute that I wasn't at work, booked with something. And then they made the announcement that South by Southwest was canceled. But it's like, one by one, they all started messaging me, hey, we're not going to be there. We're not going to be there. And it's just like, that sucked. It was rough.
The whole festival got canceled, but there was definitely still like third-party people that had events going on. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they fought tooth and nail. We didn't get like final word everything was canceled until, a couple days before we would have needed to leave. Yeah.
There's a lot of musicians that I know that were doing a lot of the unofficial South by Southwest stuff. Mm-hmm. And they knew the second South by got canceled, they're like, we're not even going to bother, because it's either a matter of time before our event gets canceled, or nobody's going to be there. So what's the point?
Yeah.
So are you guys getting to do South by Southwest this year or next year, or is that kind of?
So we're actually in talks with our management team right now. They're looking at putting on again, kind of like a third party piece of it, because I think South by Southwest is happening this year, but it's not full force.
Yeah.
From what I'm understanding, and even that's still kind of up in the air. so just talking with the powers that be, they're like, we're still planning. Some artists and performers aren't really trying to confirm until 10 or 14 days before. So it's as with anything else right now. It's planned but tentative.
Yeah, man, that's rough to just plan anything with nothing but a bunch of maybes.
Oh yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
That's rough. And so you guys have been playing together for a while, and when you started Virginia Sweet, what was the original idea for the band?
Honestly, just kind of having fun with it and just taking whatever was thrown at us and just playing music. There really was nothing else to it other than let's just play whatever comes out, and whatever anybody thinks doesn't matter. We're just going to play.
Gotcha.
And so we ended up getting a show in northern Minnesota. No real songs were done. There was some stuff that was thrown together, but nothing that we were like, yep, we're going to record this. And then we did a 3-hour set up there, and people were already asking where to buy the music. And
Nice.
so that was kind of a sign to us. It was like, well, we should probably hone some of this in and get into the studio.
Hey, that's awesome. At what point? So you mentioned a little bit ago that Virginia Sweet kind of started off as like a side project. At what point did you start to realize, oh, hey, this isn't a side project anymore? It's kind of a real thing that we should be doing something with.
I think just kind of going with like the ebbs and flows of life, honestly. The other project, there was issues with practices and rehearsals and things like that, and we ended up, the biggest defining moment, I would say, is we kind of recorded the Virginia Sweet sound and then some songs that we were working on with the previous project and sent them side by side down to some people that we knew in Nashville, and they just kind of hands down picked the Virginia Sweet sound, and that was when we were like, all right, this is the way we need to go.
Yeah. And the other project that you were working on, what kind of a sound was that?
It was more of a kind of like Motown classic rock. It was like a funk rock.
Too much.
Yeah, a little
many
bit too
things.
much. A lot of hip shaking, dancing.
Gotcha.
Instead of rocking.
Gotcha. So before we kind of go any deeper into the whole Virginia Suite, let's kind of take a second to let each of you kind of talk about your own journeys into music, what got you started, and like just so people have names to the faces, kind of say your name.
Want me to start?
You have been. Might
Okay.
as well keep it going.
So I'm Jason Dove. I'm the vocalist and bassist for Virginia Sweet. I've been dabbling in instruments, mainly guitar, most of my life. Started probably when I was 11 or 12 years old. I went pretty hard on guitar. I was playing for an unacceptable amount of hours a day. And
There's no such thing as an unacceptable amount of hours.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. And that's that's kind of what it was. You know, I was the kid that kept bringing his guitar to school, and everybody's like, "Why is this guy just lugging this thing around all the time?" And then, honestly, I'd kind of faded out for a while. Just life. And then moved out to California for a while, and then I kind of refound my passion there. Finally picked up some equipment again, and I really started to move into kind of the acoustic kind of singer-songwriter type thing. And then life took me all over the country again, and I ended up here, and I was doing a lot of guitar repair, actually. That's how I ended up getting linked up with the guys that I know now. Was I was fixing guitars, and then ended up joining the old project, playing acoustic and then playing bass, and now here I am singing and playing bass for Virginia Sweet.
Awesome.
Ricky, I played drums. And as far as I don't know, my backstory, I've been playing music for almost, in some sense, playing an instrument for probably going on like 20 years or so. First started playing guitar, picking up a bunch of stuff here and there. When I started playing drums, I kind of stopped playing everything else. Well, that's unnecessary. And then Just a few bands through schooling and stuff like that. It was my whole family was in the military and stuff, so we moved around a lot. When we moved back up to Minnesota here, finished high school, and a few bands through that. Played a lot of jazz through college. Then I was actually in a group with our guitarist Jason Jump. That was about 10, almost 11 years ago at this point in time. And so we've been playing together for a real long time. Did some touring and stuff with him. Moved out to LA for a little bit. Doing the thing out there. Came back, and here I am, I guess.
Gotcha. So you're from Minnesota originally?
More or less. Born here, moved around every 3 years, and then came back, finished high school, moved away again. Now I'm back again. I keep trying to leave, but it keeps getting me back somehow.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. And then Jason, where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Virginia.
Okay, gotcha.
And then Jason Jump, our guitarist, he's from like Eastern Shore, Maryland.
Okay.
And he's done, as Ricky said, he's been around the block with music, and then he's kind enough to say, hey, let's start Virginia Sweet, and then here we are.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So it's the three of you make up the band?
Yep, correct. Just a three-piece.
Okay, awesome. And so 2021, you released your debut album, right? If Spotify's not lying to me, which Spotify sometimes does do that to me.
No, it's
why would the internet lie?
So how long had you been working on that album?
Honestly, a very short period of time. Overall, the songs, I would say from start to finish, it was probably a 7-month process. From the time that the songs didn't exist to the time that they were recorded and being sent off to mixing and mastering.
Gotcha. And I called it an album. It's an EP. Sorry. Some musicians bite my head off when I say that.
No.
Yeah.
It's music, man.
Yeah.
It's not a single, it's something.
Yeah, for sure. So the name of the album's The Revival. And when did you release it last year? How long?
July 31st.
July 31st. So it's been out for a good while. What's the reception been like?
Reception seems great, honestly. We've gotten some amazing feedback from some bigger names in the industry. We're still in talks with them of what the next steps will be. But we've gotten a few different reviews that have happened. One of them was actually a pretty in-depth review where they went song by song, kind of instrument for instrument, and it was kind of like a lights out for them. They're super pumped about it. They can't wait to hear what's coming up next.
Wow.
And it's overall it's been great. One of the songs, Revival, has like 39,000 streams on Spotify already. So again, for a project that has existed for not very long, and for an album that hasn't been out for very long, it's done well. Yeah,
for sure. And like, for it being your first album out there, and in the middle of the pandemic, no less, it's doing remarkably well. And I really enjoyed listening to it as I was kind of prepping for everything. I've been obviously been working from home the last couple days, so it's just kind of like, all right, I guess I'm going to listen to music very loudly.
There you go.
So, definitely been enjoying it. Let's talk about. So there's 5 songs on the Revival. What kind of went into that song selection process when you sat down to be like, okay, we're ready to do an album?
I think
we had it, and it was our favorite.
I think it's the most forward way to say it is that's what we had at that time, and there was a demand for it, so we took what we had and gave it to people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just happened to have 5 songs, and it was like, okay, cool.
5 that we were in a position where we're like, hey, there's solid lyrics behind it, solid composition, and we'll put this out there and then keep working on new stuff.
Gotcha.
And then, just to keep the wheels rolling.
Yeah, for sure. And then did you record it yourself, or did you go to a studio, or what was that kind of process like?
So we definitely recorded it ourselves. Jump was on the road at the time traveling back and forth between Nashville and here, and Ricky and I just kind of went on our own accord and went and got a bunch of microphones and cables and mixers and everything we needed, and then we started the recording process. We did all the engineering aspect of it ourselves. We did the pre-production and the post-production, and then we sent it off for final mixing and mastering.
Nice. Do either of you have a recording background at all, or?
I grew up when I was like 13 or so. I think I had my first version of Pro Tools.
Okay.
Just recording myself playing over backing tracks. But why not be extravagant about it and put a mic up to like a 4x10 cab and act like you're hot stuff.
Yeah.
So
I got you.
That's so I have very basic stuff, but then in the process of waiting for stuff to ship, because obviously COVID's happening, so everything took longer.
Yeah.
Sign up for the free 30-day LinkedIn learning trial. It's worth it.
Yeah. Oh, the first year wow, that's so weird to say. The first year we were in lockdown, my boss had bought a year subscription to one of those online class things where you just like, oh, hey, I want to learn how to make baked ziti, and they've got a class on how to do that.
Okay.
And I started just studying random things through work. He was like, here, we're all going to be home for a while, so take the link and have fun. And you go through and you just see all the random stuff people were wanting to learn how to do, and it's like, oh, I'm glad I don't know who's doing what, because this would be very weird. So but no, definitely self-education is a good way to go. I definitely endorse that. So so the revival's been out 6 months, right? August, September, October.
Yeah.
6 months, probably closer to 7 months. Where are you guys kind of at creatively now? Are you working towards the next album, or what are your thoughts there?
Yep, we're plugging away. We've got, I'd say, probably another EP ready right now, but I think we're kind of waiting to see where these producers that we've been talking with want to go with it. Whether they're looking to have a couple singles that come out to go with a full-length album, and then keep those songs under production as we're working on those. Or if we're just going to end up going with a chunk of songs and then say, this is what we got so far, and we're just going to get another EP or something like that done.
Gotcha.
I think it's really just going to be based on where the industry advises us to go.
Yeah.
As far as management and everything.
Yeah, I gotcha. And like, just from my end, since you just announced a pretty sizable tour that you're doing I guess technically next month.
Yep.
I was trying to like March next month.
Yeah.
Like definitely having albums and stuff, like just kind of seeing what I've seen, musicians that get out and play, they definitely benefit from having hard copy, whether it's EP, LPs, whatever it is. And then musicians that don't get out and play that often, they definitely benefit from more of the singles, streaming, and all that stuff. So take that for what it's worth. It's just,
it's an ever-changing industry.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's always a conversation you have, because it's like, a lot of people have opinions about streaming. A lot of people have opinions about everything, and we won't go too deep into that. But to me, it's just kind of like, it depends on what your situation is.
Absolutely.
So you're pretty much got an EP ready to record. Would that be another situation where you record it yourself, or would you go into a proper studio and record it there?
I think you just see what comes up at the time, honestly. We're trying to be as flexible as we can as far as with what presents itself. So
Gotcha.
It seems like the way to do it. I don't
know.
Yeah.
We've got some options at this point, so I think there'll be a lot of factors that help decide, but nothing that's a concrete decision at this point.
Gotcha. And how many how many songs so you have enough for an EP, but how many songs or how often do you write songs? Are you like just always kind of writing, or is it more of a selective process?
I think we try to write as much as we can. As far as to what actually comes into a tangible product is less than, but just keeping the juices flowing and all that stuff. We do a decent amount of jamming, just in our set and our show and stuff. So that's probably about a good, third of any given show. Just for lack of a better way to put it, making up stuff on the spot. But
I got you.
I don't know, just having fun, trying to write as much as we can, and seeing what we can come up with that makes sense.
For sure. So when you're jamming, is that where most of the writing gets done, or do each of you have your own like writing process?
I'd say we've safely been experimenting with all that too over the past year, just looking for the most streamlined process.
And obviously you want it to be streamlined, and then you also want it to produce good results, so you're kind of open to whatever seems to be working for the moment, right?
Yeah. Things are probably, if anything, a little too flexible as far as a process. Nothing's scientific by any means, but
all right. When it comes to art, can it really be that scientific? Like,
I mean, everyone has a method.
Yeah,
there are plenty of theories.
That's true. True. So, you've got the next round of recordings ready to go. So whenever that trigger gets pulled, I know everybody will be really excited to hear it. But the big news that I was really excited to see, and it just kind of gives you that big tip of the hat to let you know, like, things are starting to come back, is you announced a tour, and it's over like 2 months or off and on?
Yeah, it'll be spanning pretty much all of March and into the beginning of April. And we've got a little break there, get some family time in, and then we're still currently working on adding more dates.
Okay.
That would end up being to kind of finish out April there.
Gotcha.
And then we'll take a bit of a break, and then we'll see what later in the summer brings us.
Awesome. I was going to ask if you were still in the process of trying to book some dates, because I saw that big chunk and I was like, okay, well, maybe that's a break. But then you came back and it was like only a handful of shows. It's like, well, maybe they're still trying to add dates or something.
Yeah, we're still plugging away at it. Just with travel situation, it'll all still make sense, which is honestly the most important piece. Financially, all that good stuff. Our management team's great. B Squared Management. They're working on getting some more dates there, and then we might end up doing a couple different showcases with some people as well, because they do have a few artists that are kind of based out of Texas, and so we'll end up seeing what we can do there. We might end up kind of doing a small kind of shared tour if it ends up working out.
Yeah, for sure. When you guys get down to Texas, I got to kind of try and figure out what's closer to me, San Angelo or Hutto, but
who knows? Maybe we'll get one in Waco.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's a pretty decent venues here. Like, I just found out a couple months ago that there's a bar right down the street. They used to just do like singer-songwriters and like open mic type stuff, because they had a little baby stage in their little back porch patio place. And then my dad came down a couple months ago to visit, and we went over there because I hadn't been there in about a year. And we walked in the back, and they've got a whole big stage set up in the back to do like big music shows. And I'm like, you guys need to tell me when you're doing that thing, because like they could easily fit a couple hundred people in there. Like, okay. It's pretty sizable because it's outside, and they got a little taco truck, and it's pretty wild. So I can definitely get you that information when if you guys want it. So
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, no, definitely getting out and touring is awesome. Is there any places on this tour list that you haven't been to before, or is it all pretty much new to you?
As far as like playing there or visiting?
Yeah, like in playing there, yeah.
Playing there, yeah, all of it would be new. We're just so fresh of a band anywhere that's most places are going to be our first time there. We do have a couple places that we've played in previous projects. On our last tour last summer, it was like New York, mainly in Montauk, and then we played also in like Bethany Beach area. And then we'd done that one before, but then hitting a few new places like Farm Brew Live in Virginia. And then, everything else down south is going to be a new experience, which is always great.
Yeah.
Just because you never know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like just see like Tupelo, Mississippi. That's going to be an interesting show. Like,
Oh, yeah. There's so many people that come out of Tupelo. It's wild.
Yeah, for sure. And then, just kind of looking through the rundown, like that whole East Coast run is going to be that's going to be a fun trip. Like,
It's going to be killer.
And if you're just into enjoying where you're at, just like driving up through the Carolinas and stuff, it's just like, all right, you can't get much better than that.
Yeah.
And then of course Florida. So, but yeah, awesome. And then so kind of moving forward with the music, you got the tour coming up, you got the album out now, you've got a new album possibly on the way. Obviously, you got plenty to be worried about. What are the thoughts about an EP versus an LP? Obviously, you mentioned that you've got another EP ready, but do you want to release a new album, or but because of where the industry is, you're kind of just waiting for the industry to decide?
I think me personally, just with a couple people knowing a lot more than we do as far as where things will be 6 months from now, getting an idea of what their perspective on how to approach the way the industry is kind of working now. There's people that are talking that the shift towards physical media is coming back, but then there's all these people that are still just scared of it and scared of streaming. And then it's like, well, then where are you even getting your music?
Yeah.
So I think it's up in the air, but I can sort of see it going, doing a full length and then having, maybe a single or two that come out beforehand to lead up to the album. That seems to be pretty common nowadays, of doing like 2 singles prior to an album.
Yeah. I've seen 2 singles, 3 singles, like going back to the old school, 3 singles leading up to the album.
Yeah.
And then kind of you bring it up like how you're releasing your music. I've seen, like, just from being at shows and like being around independent music all day, it seems, because obviously everything else is advancing so much. So like you get into a brand new car, they don't even have CD players anymore.
Yep.
So it's getting to that point where it's like, I don't know too many people that have a CD player, period. So you're kind of seeing on the independent level and just music in general kind of reverting back even further, which is bringing on the rise of vinyl, because it's like that cool nostalgic thing to do. Unfortunately, it's not cheap to press vinyl, but it's,
they would lower their minimums. It would be a lot easier, but to do a minimum run of like 100 vinyls, that's a chunk of change.
Yeah, like, I mean, I haven't priced out vinyl in a little while, but when I go to a show and they're selling like LP vinyls for like $35, it's, I can only imagine what it's costing you. But still, so it's
prices. So,
and that's still a low margin. So it's all for love.
Yeah, for sure. But vinyl, like, I'm all about the vinyl. I'm building my vinyl collection, and anytime I go to a show, if they have vinyl, take my money.
I can dig it. Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Well, it's nice that that's like its own collector's market these days. It seems like, I mean, COVID really did really well for anyone that collects anything at all, because all those markets were definitely booming. And I think having just that physical copy of something is kind of nice to be able to hold something. Like, I would prefer to go to a store and buy something than wait a day for Amazon to bring it to me, if not hours.
Yeah.
Just because that's, me, and I'm by no means an oddball. Well, I am, but... No, so I think that there's definitely people that like to have things, and records were cool, and people are investing all this money into their audio systems just because you want to have something that's, I don't know, good sounding. And no, it definitely was a cool thing, and now I think that it's just caught on so widely that that's, I think I read something that's like the way people consume physical media is by vinyl these days.
Yeah.
As opposed to CDs. Tape tried to make a resurgence, but I think for good reasons it didn't catch on.
Well, it's so funny you brought that up because it's still like making a resurgence in like the punk DIY scene.
Yep, absolutely.
And, in my head, when I first started hearing about this, it's like, I mean, I get it. You make one tape and then it's just easy to reproduce. Like because I got a multi-cassette recorder right here. You put one tape in, you just multiply it and you're good. But they're not even cheap to produce. It's like $7 for a cassette tape just to buy a blank one.
Yeah.
And it was made back in the 90s. So you're using a 20-year-old medium that's probably degraded to all hell. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Because they don't make cassettes anymore, or at least they weren't a year ago when I first started learning about it. But
we'll have to talk to Memorex.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's just one of those things like you brought up that there's just no reason for tape to come back because there's no, like, you don't hear people talk about, man, I miss listening to cassette tapes. No, nobody misses listening to cassette tapes.
Slowly distorts over the life of the tape.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it's just kind of like where vinyl, everybody has stories about listening to vinyl, going to the store on Saturday, picking out a random vinyl because they like the cover or however they went through the process of buying vinyl or music at that point in their lives. And then just putting it on there, listening to it, and having to listen to the whole album to get to that one song. Yeah. Unless they were really good at just dropping the needle right where it needed to be. But I don't know about too many people that are that good at that. So, but yeah, so vinyl, definitely, I'm all about it.
It's coming back.
They just need to bring their price points down. Like they need to figure out a way to make it cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, probably if there was more plants opened up that were producing and outputting vinyl, just in general, not even on a DIY level, that's when stuff will go down. And also, if they stop using the 180 gram vinyls, they didn't use them for 70 years, and then all of a sudden we decided that we needed them. When just take care of your stuff and don't throw your records around. Keep the 130s around.
Yeah, for sure. So, so kind of outside of music, to kind of step away from talking about music and all that stuff, what do you guys do outside of music when you just need to get away from life and all that stuff?
What do you do, Dove?
I like, honestly, I just like to hang out with people and cook and enjoy some beverages. That's what I feel like the basis of life is anyways. You don't exist without the food.
Yeah.
And we don't exist if there aren't other people there. In its most basic form, yeah. I don't, watching TV and everything doesn't really do anything for me. I'd kind of rather just get in a car and go drive somewhere and get out and just see where the path takes me and trudge new ground if at all possible. Get the old explorer hat on.
Yeah, but, for sure.
Yeah, randomness is what drives me. So if we can find some random cool spot that has killer food and some cool people, then I'm in.
What's the most random place you found yourself in? Just on a whim, like one day you're like, I need to get the hell out of here.
There was one time back when I was in Virginia, it was probably like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and then I ended up just getting in the car and driving, and I was almost to that far southwestern tip of Virginia where it's just a mishmash of states.
Yeah.
And then I crossed through different states, and then all of a sudden I'm back in Virginia, the sun's coming up. And there was just this little shack on the road that said like farm fresh eggs and local meats. Yeah. I'm like, let's stop in. and it was one of the most satisfying breakfasts that I've ever had, but I don't know if it was just that, like the lack of sleep, the area, maybe it was altitude sickness and I wasn't thinking clearly, but all in all, it was hands down the best bacon, eggs, and toast that I've still had in my life. It was just right place, right time.
Nice.
Well, I suppose my turn. I don't know. I cook a lot, so like I'll gladly spend like 4 hours cooking something. Just I don't know. I enjoy that process. Play a lot of disc golf. I don't know. I don't. Not too often in the winter time because it's friggin' cold and there's a lot of snow. But I don't know. Yeah. It's honestly I don't have that much downtime between all the stuff we're trying to do and just everyday things, but no,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Gotcha.
probably-
Now, are you both full-time musicians, or do you have the day job to support your music habit?
We're still addicts that need support.
Okay. Gotcha. Makes 100% sense. So, yeah, for sure. So, album's out, the revival's out now. It's been out since July. Hopefully in the next year or so you'll have another EP, and then you got the show.
100%.
I like to say year just because I feel like that's enough time, but maybe it's not. Like some bands move fast, some bands move slow, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And then of course you got the tour coming up, and dates are always just kind of being added. Is that fair?
Yeah, as of right now, there's, at least with what's on the calendar, there's another 2 or 3 that we're just waiting for final confirmation on. And then there might be some changes that end up happening. We'll see what happens with South by Southwest.
Yeah, I was actually just putting that 2 and 2 together as I was looking through the thing. It's like, oh, that's kind of when South by Southwest might
Yep.
be. So
So there might be some shuffles that happen, but anything that's guaranteed so far will still be guaranteed, even if it's just at a later date.
gotcha. Awesome.
But all tentative.
Yeah, for sure. So if anybody wants to check out your music or any of the upcoming shows, where's the best place for them to do that?
VirginiaSuite.net is going to have all your information there, and that will link you to everything else. Everything social media wise. Facebook, Instagram is Virginia Sweet Music, and then on TikTok and Twitter it's VA Sweet Music. If there's anybody out there that's listening and you want to ask us questions or whatever, feel free to, you can shoot us an email through the website, or if you just want to hit us up on Messenger through Insta or Facebook, we respond. It won't be a bot. It might say, hey, give us a second to respond, but we will respond and we'll have a real conversation.
We're not that famous yet.
Yeah. I just realized that my our Facebook page, the Live and Amplified page, has an auto response, and I'm like, no, dang it, why does this have an auto response? And like, it's not like when you message us, it's like when you log onto the page,
Oh, really?
it sends it, and I'm like, this is stupid. I need to figure out how to change this. So
There's so many little tiny things in all those menus. It's kind of absurdly compartmentalized.
yeah, I've been trying to stay off Facebook and just kind of do the Instagram thing.
Yeah.
But you know, we're so big, I don't want to say so big on Facebook, but like that's where the majority of our following is, and it's just like, come over to like our Discord channel or Instagram or something.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah, it's with all the different platforms, there's everyone ends up having its advantage. And
Yeah.
that's where it's difficult to just be like, well, I'm just not going to use that, because
Yeah.
Facebook, you can have events, you can have a calendar of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Instagram, none of it.
yeah,
So then everybody now uses like Linktree, and then you can get it to tie all your outside third-party Instagram stuff together. So yeah, it's a battle royale for the best.
yeah. What social media platform do you find just your favorite to use, or do you find yourself using the most?
Just out of simplicity, honestly, probably Instagram. I think kind of demographic wise, Instagram is starting to take the transition from Facebook, but there's still such a large age group that won't venture from Facebook.
Yeah.
Because that is the original, that it's like, why do something else?
Well, I think MySpace was the original, but that doesn't exist anymore.
Well, actually, technically it does. MySpace is still out there.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's
Since
up in-
if you bought it,
what's that?
since Justin bought it,
I guess I don't know. Like up until about a year and a half ago, we still had a MySpace page. So
funny.
That's fantastic.
Nice.
yeah, and then I went through my personal page and I'm like, boy, I was a depressing human being back then. What is all this? And then I just quickly deleted it because it's like, yeah, people might get the wrong impression about me.
Yeah.
So when you're in
we can get the MySpace with the AOL, email address, and
Yep.
we'll go full retro.
yeah, for sure. I'm all about it. I was trying to figure out if they still had AIM or
Yeah.
Huh.
but they don't. So and I was just like, okay, cool. But anyways,
Just owned by Messenger now.
yeah. So, but yeah, once again, I really appreciate you guys sitting down and chatting with me for a little bit. It's been an absolute blast when you guys get down to Texas. Hopefully by the time you figure out if you're going to be at South by Southwest, because I know Austin's close. It's like an hour and a half, but
Yep.
I'll look at a few of the other spots and hopefully I can make it down to a show.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Awesome. Sounds good,
Later,
Tom.
man.
Look forward to hearing from you.
Cool. We're clear.